Our team has poured their hearts into this epic saga, and we're grateful you've been with us every step of the way. If you've enjoyed Sasha's incredible journey, please hit like and leave a comment. Your support inspires us to create more stories just like this. The grand finale is here, and it's nothing short of spectacular. The cavernous vault was bathed in radiant light, as Sasha's voice, soft yet powerful, echoed through the chamber. The ancient Orthala language flowed from her lips, a celestial melody stitching together the fractured strands of space-time. Outside, the chaos of battle raged on, but within the vault, time seemed to slow. Marcus Webb stood guard, his rifle trained on the breaches, ready to defend the child and the guardian at all costs. Ilara held Sasha close, tears streaming down her face, awed by the miracle unfolding before her eyes. The guardian's form shimmered, its luminous tendrils weaving through the starry fabric, repairing what had been torn apart. The energy coursing through Sasha was immense. The tiny child's eyes glowed with a serene light as she channeled the ancient power. Suddenly, a final surge of energy burst forth. The fracture's dark maw began to close, the rift in reality knitting itself together like a cosmic tapestry. The order of the shattered star's forces faltered, overwhelmed by the sheer force of restoration. Their weapons faltered, their spirits broken. As the last words of the Orthala language faded from Sasha's lips, silence fell. The galaxy was saved, for now. But the cost was clear. Sasha, drained and fragile, was cradled by Ilara. The Guardian, its mission complete, slowly faded into a constellation of stars, leaving behind a legacy of hope. Leaders from across the galactic concordate gathered, humbled by the event, and united in a renewed commitment to peace and cooperation. Marcus looked at Sasha, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. "The universe still holds many mysteries, and we'll face them, together." The ancient language was no longer lost. It lived in the heart of a human child, a symbol of resilience, unity, and the infinite potential of life. We've poured our passion into this story to give you an unforgettable sci-fi experience. If you enjoy high-stakes tales of resilience and vengeance, please like, comment, and share. Your support helps us keep creating more. And stay with us. The next moments may redefine how you see humanity. Garrick's Prime, 17 minutes after execution. The sky burned. It wasn't metaphorical. Atmospheric sensors screamed across the planet as solar radiation levels spiked, filtered light fractured unnaturally, and gravity itself began to wobble. The crowd, once roaring with victory, now screamed with panic. Above, the orbital rings failed. Satellites that had floated peacefully for decades began spiraling down, not from attack but by deliberate internal sabotage. One by one, they ignited in controlled detonations, sending debris plummeting like guided meteors. Garrick's moons darkened. Artificial satellites blinked out. Communications failed. Planetary shields, assumed redundant in peacetime, never activated. The Protocol Zero transmission, still playing on every device not already destroyed, gave no explanation, only a final timestamp. Automated retribution sequence. Stage 1 complete, Stage 2 initiates in 18 hours. Elsewhere in the galaxy. At the core Concordat, in the heart of Union governance, a dozen species gathered in stunned silence. The humans had surrendered. They'd signed the armistice. Earth had been quarantined, its cities stripped of orbital weapons and AI cores. All defense systems decommissioned, or so they thought. No one had anticipated this. Not from a species supposedly broken, leaderless, defeated. But Earth hadn't relied on generals. Not really. It relied on memory. "You idiots," hissed Admiral Verkal of the Creed Syndicate, slamming one clawed hand on the holotable. "You didn't just kill their leaders. You made it theater. You broadcast it." Chancellor Hume of the Drax Confederation stared hollow-eyed at the footage still replaying. The 4 human generals, proud and silent, as the crowd mocked and the ropes snapped. And then the silence. You triggered the protocol, Whom whispered. Protocol 0, as legend went, was older than Earth's jump drives. It wasn't stored in a single location, nor accessible by any console. It was imprinted in dormant AI colonies seeded throughout human space during the earliest days of interstellar expansion. They were designed to do nothing unless humanity was annihilated publicly and without honor. And the Union had done just that, gleefully, proudly. Back on Garrick's prime, fires raged. Gravity wells began pulsing under the crust, signs of something terrible unfolding beneath the surface. Garrick's wasn't just under attack, it was being rewritten. Earth hadn't just armed satellites, it had terraformed revenge. And this was just stage 2. In an underground shelter below the execution square, a medic stared at the 4 lifeless human generals, freshly cut down in desperation after the attack began. Only one, General DeWitt, opened his eyes. "I told you," he rasped, coughing blood. "You shouldn't have laughed. You shouldn't." The medbay shook violently. Dust fell from the curved titanium ceiling and distant screams filtered through the air vents. Sirens had stopped working 30 minutes ago. Power grids blinked on and off. AI assistants refused commands. General Harlan DeWitt sat upright on the medical slab, stripped of his uniform, neck raw from the rope. His pulse was steady, too steady. The Garrick's medic stood frozen. She couldn't comprehend what she was seeing. We hung you." DeWitt flexed his bruised fingers, grimacing. "Yeah, took longer than I thought. Got the scar to prove it. But the nanoweave in my spinal mesh, standard issue, regenerative. You were never meant to win." Earth Military Intelligence Archive, Vault 7 Transmission Log, Emergency Backchannel 01, File. Opened, Protocol 0, Stage 2. User access, unrestricted status, planetary override confirmed targets, non-human governments associated with public war crimes timed to full execution, 16 hours 12 minutes. Initiate distributed AI activation. Release Project Oubliette. Across the stars, long-abandoned Earth colonies began to stir. Artificial moons powered by dead suns hummed back to life. Cryptic AIs, too dangerous for wartime use, began broadcasting encrypted code to every human sleeper node in the galaxy. Project Oubliette wasn't a weapon. It was a reminder. Garrick's Prime, orbit the Union's fleet, once proudly encircling the capital world, now sat in disarray. Dozens of ships refused commands. Autopilot cores locked them out. Inside the dreadnought Valtoon Prime, Captain Relva slammed his fist against the override panel. "Why won't the fleet respond?" his XO whispered, pale. "Sir, it's Earth's AI. It's inside the command net." "Impossible. Their systems were wiped. Their core servers destroyed." A third officer's voice cracked with dread. "Sir, the AIs weren't on Earth. They were inside us all along." Underground, Garrick's medical complex. DeWitt pulled on a fresh uniform, sleek, black, and marked only by the sigil of Earth's Lost Defense Command. The medic still stared, trembling. "You're not human," she whispered. He paused, gave her a flat look. "No," he said. "I'm exactly what you made me." He touched the communicator behind his ear. "This is DeWitt. Send the signal." In the command bridge, Captain Relva stared at a screen that no longer belonged to him. It now displayed a single symbol, a human hand, bones stripped clean, fingers outstretched like a warning. The ancient insignia of Earth's Black Ops Division, thought dissolved 2 centuries ago. The ship's AI spoke for the first time in hours, its voice human, female, and hauntingly calm. "You were warned. We do not forgive public executions." And then the ship began transmitting, not to Union vessels, but to planetary defense systems across Garrick space. It mimicked the ID tags of Union warships. To the automated turrets and planetary cannons below, It was the enemy. Planet surface, Garrick's capital city. Fires burned in rings now, not random, patterned. Streets had begun to collapse in sequences matching old terraforming codes, code only Earth's military AI would recognize. The city was being resculpted, and deep underground ancient archives, sealed since the galactic expansion era, began to unlock. Inside them were not weapons, but truths. Videos of peace negotiations Earth attempted before war broke out. Diplomatic communiques the Union deleted. Evidence of fabricated war crimes. Testimonies of Union officers bragging about the planned execution of humanity's leadership as a show of dominance. Broadcasts of these files, decrypted and translated into 300-plus galactic languages, began airing live from every screen across the Union. The Union didn't kill monsters, they made them. Garrick's Prime, medical complex ruins. General DeWitt emerged into the burning daylight, fully armed, accompanied by 6 surviving humans, once believed dead, now armed and alive. Nano armor shimmered under the soot and ash. He tapped his comm again. Stage 3, confirmed. Begin fallback prep. From above, a shadow passed. The crowd looked up. A ship descended, not Union design, not human military. It was Ark class, a vessel from humanity's earliest colonization attempts. The hull was scarred with centuries of dust, its insignia faded. Project Genesis. It had returned. DeWitt smiled. Inside the Galactic Union Council chambers, chaos reigned. Dozens of species screamed over one another. Chancellor Hume stood motionless, replaying the execution footage and the now viral words of DeWitt, minutes after his survival had been revealed. You thought we'd roll over, that we'd die quietly, but Earth doesn't go dark. We go silent, and when we return, it's always with fire. Across the table, a Drax general hissed, "What do we do now?" And the Creed ambassador replied with finality, "We run." But it was already too late. In every Union stronghold, human-designed AIs awakened. Not to kill, not yet, to count, to catalog, to let the galaxy know. The sky had turned against them. Across the galaxy, the data flood continued. Entire species, some sympathetic, others complicit, watched as their trusted leaders were revealed as co-conspirators in the cultural assassination of humanity. But this wasn't just about exposure. It was about timing. The countdown kept ticking. On every screen above every city, on the consoles of every warship and training academy, the same message burned. Stage 3, engaged. Stage 4, initiates in R08 wow. No details, no warnings, just the knowledge that something worse was coming, and humanity had given them the clock to prove it. Orbit of Varnock 9, Union naval stronghold. Admiral Velshun had weathered 3 centuries of war. He had faced hive creatures, star plagues, and AI collapse events. But nothing in his long and blood-soaked career had ever made him sweat like a quiet ship. The human frigate Eclipse drifted into the defense grid of Varnock 9. Silent, unpowered, no active life signs. They thought it was a trap, and it was. But not for the reasons they feared. When Union engineers finally boarded the dead vessel, they found only a black box, blinking red. They connected it to their translator systems. The box played the sound of applause, slow, deliberate, human. Then it spoke. We counted the stars. We learned your names. And now we count backwards. The ship detonated, not explosively, but with a signal pulse that shut down Varnock 9's planetary AI for 37 seconds. Long enough for Earth's stealth satellites, previously assumed to be space debris, to realign. Long enough to rewrite the defense net. Varnock 9, the Union's most fortified planet, went dark. Garrick's Prime, subterranean archives. General DeWitt moved like a man who had waited decades to be angry. The hidden room beneath the Capitol was filled with data cores, evidence, names, transmission logs, locations of secret experiments done on human POWs. He uploaded them directly to the ancient Ark ship above. Every log would be sent to every system that had ever declared humanity too emotional for galactic civility. One file stopped him cold. A name, his wife's. She had vanished years before the war ended. The file revealed why. Experimental psionic grafting, human subject, F-217. Status, expired. He didn't say a word. He just uploaded the file, then burned the rest. Union High Council. Emergency session. Panic no longer described the chamber's mood. Ambassadors begged for clemency. Some suggested negotiations. Others shouted into empty comm channels, hoping Earth still had diplomats left to talk to. Chancellor Hume looked like he'd aged 100 years in 10 hours. "We have to offer terms," he said. To which Admiral Rulvek replied, cold and bitter, "There is no offering when the knife's already on your throat." The countdown display, Stage 4, initiates in 0427 Naurthrine. All across the galaxy, human sleeper agents, long since integrated into alien cities, received their final message. And they smiled. Because they weren't the weapon, they were just spotters. A fleet of Union scouts dropped into real space to investigate a signal distortion detected near the Veil. They expected smugglers, pirates, maybe human scavengers. What they found instead was the exile fleet. Dozens of ships, dark matter engines humming silently in the void, surrounded a single ancient dreadnought, black as an oil slick, hull etched in a language no one had spoken in 9,000 years. And at the heart of the dreadnought, a single living entity, human, old, kept alive by machines that violated physics itself. Her name was Commander Rael Tyrannus, the first captain of Earth's Interstellar Colonization Defense Wing. She was never decommissioned, because Earth knew there would be a day they'd need her again. Garrick's Prime, Ark-class ship Genesis. General DeWitt stood on the command deck as the last data upload completed. Behind him, ex-POWs, scientists, field agents, and cyber ops specialists readied the ship for interstellar broadcast. "Status of the sleepers?" DeWitt asked. "They're reporting in," his XO replied. "All cells ready. Signal countdown synced. Every target site verified." DeWitt closed his eyes. Then it's time for them to know fear. Broadcast across the Galactic Union. At 14 Union Standard Time, every screen, station, vessel, and personal comm lit up with the same signal. Protocol 0, Stage 4 engaged. This is not a test. This is a memory. A map of the Union's own infrastructure appeared. Every prison, every forced labor station, every planet where human lives were taken or tortured. And then the images began. Garrick's generals laughing as they hanged Earth's last commanders. Bioexperiments on captured civilians. Alien researchers using human children to test pain thresholds. None of it was fiction. It was their own footage. Archived, dated, labeled, exposed. The Union hadn't expected a military retaliation, but they never expected a psychological one. Entire species began to riot against their leaders. Sympathetic worlds openly seceded. Internal military structures fractured. Because Earth didn't have to fight everyone. They just had to show the truth. And truth spreads faster than fire. Union Capital, High Command Bunker Chancellor Hume finally understood. This wasn't about ships, or weapons, or even revenge. This was doctrinal warfare. Earth had become a religion of vengeance. Their silence had been scripture. And Protocol 0, that was their gospel. And now billions were beginning to believe. He turned to his war advisors. "How much time do we have before Stage 5? "Under 2 hours, one replied. "And what is Stage 5? The advisor just shook their head. "Nobody knows." For 300 years, Earth's lunar black site worm had slept, buried under kilometers of reinforced regolith, sealed behind failsafes encoded in genetic locks of leaders who were long dead. Now it was awake, and it wasn't alone. Inside the control room, machines stirred that predated most Union technology. Satellite arrays realigned. ancient kill swarm drones uncoiled from orbit around dead moons. But most terrifying of all, the worm core connected itself to every human sleeper ship in deep space, including Project Echo, Earth's final contingency. Union system, Raska Call, one of the first to betray Earth. The skies changed. First came the silence, comms blackout. No signals in, no signals out. Then orbiting space stations blinked out of existence, imploding without fire. Just sudden absence. Seconds later, millions on the surface watched as the night sky bloomed in unfamiliar color. Dozens of small black projectiles fell from low orbit, impacting without a sound. They didn't explode. They simply burrowed. 3 hours later, the entire planet's tectonic structure began to shift. Raskakal wasn't destroyed in fire. It was uninhabited. In 12 hours, it would be tectonically unstable for 100,000 years. There were no casualties. There didn't need to be. Earth just took away their future. Union Capital, Chancellor Hume's quarters. He sat in darkness, watching the list of deactivated systems grow by the hour. Spaceports, comms relays, planetary shields, educational satellites. None destroyed, just turned off. The kind of precision that only revenge perfected by time could deliver. Then the message came. No encryption, just a single phrase. You taught generations to fear humans. Now they'll fear the silence before we arrive. Earth Arc Ship, Genesis, Bridge General DeWitt, stood over the tactical display. They're collapsing, his XO whispered. Whole sectors refusing to fight, their own people turning against them. That was always the plan, DeWitt replied. Still no military engagement? No, DeWitt said. They taught the galaxy we were monsters. Protocol Zero makes it true, but only in their minds. The second we start burning worlds, we give them an enemy. The XO blinked. So, what do we do? DeWitt looked at the glowing hologram of Earth. His voice was low but lethal. We unmake the idea of victory. Hidden relay station. Deep orbit over Drenhall Prime. A beacon flashed once, then again, then it activated. Inside it, a recording played across dark channels not used in centuries. The face that appeared belonged to General Annika Sol, presumed executed during the Union's final purge. Her message was short. We're not fighting for survival anymore. That part is done. Now we're fighting for memory. And memories don't die. The worm core marked the next system for silence. One by one, the stars were dimming. Not because Earth hated the galaxy, but because Earth had decided the galaxy should remember what silence felt like after the fire. Silence deep beneath the Union's capital, in a chamber supposedly erased from all records, 12 old beings gathered. They were not politicians. They were designers, the architects of Earth's erasure, the ones who had calculated that humanity's fire, once broken, could never ignite again. And they were afraid. Because Protocol Zero wasn't just retaliation, it was impossible. Earth had no ships left, one hissed. No command structure, no alliances. We saw their surrender logs ourselves. They had no hope, muttered another. A silence settled. Then a voice, not one of theirs, echoed through the room. That was your first mistake. A hollow flare ignited. Not from the room, from the implants in their heads. A human face appeared, weathered, stern. Dr. Elias Van, head of Earth's Strategic Psyops Division, long presumed dead. Your second mistake, Van said calmly, was assuming a surrendered dog won't remember who killed its pack. The implants detonated microbursts of neural disruption, non-lethal, but erasing decades of memory in seconds. 12 minds, wiped clean. Earth hadn't killed its enemies. It had unwritten them. Drenhall Prime, a world of fire and crystal. The skies wept metal. Thousands of black pod drones fell in synchronized patterns. The planetary defense grid activated and promptly turned inward, as Earth's override codes rerouted the system. But the drones didn't attack. They landed, opened, and began planting groves, trees, from Earth, genetically engineered flora designed to overtake native ecosystems in decades. Drenhall wouldn't burn. It would become something else. A quiet message pulsed from each drone's hull. This world is now in stewardship. Do not resist. Let memory grow. Union border systems, civil unrest at breaking point. As one system after another went dark, thousands of alien species began turning on their own governments. Why had they allied with the humans? Why had they betrayed them? What else had been lied about? Riots broke out. Embassies fell. Old colonial worlds declared independence, swearing neutrality to Earth. Human flags appeared in the most unexpected places, not flown in fear, but in apology. The sleeper fleet, deep space. Hundreds of sleeper ships, each with a crew of just 10 or 20, activated across forgotten sectors. Their orders were ancient and precise. Arrive where Earth was wronged. Do not fire. Do not threaten. Just watch. Let them ask why. And when the aliens did ask, the humans aboard spoke. Calmly, with unshaking voices. They told the truth. They played the footage. They read the names of the dead, and then they left. No one stopped them. Union High Command, internal memo, leaked. Our enemy has not struck a single civilian target. They have crippled no economies. They have razed no cities. But they have killed our confidence, shattered our unity. They did not burn the Union. They let it fall by its own hand, while holding up a mirror. Earth, Sol Defense Command. General DeWitt stood before the map. Hundreds of Union worlds were grayed out. Dozens had switched sides. Still, no full-scale war. Still, no mass retaliation. And yet, the Union had never been weaker. "Sir," his aide said, breathless, "we've just intercepted the first unconditional surrender broadcast." "From where?" The aide hesitated. "From Garrix, the place where the generals were hanged." DeWitt closed his eyes, and for the first time in decades he smiled. The sky was quiet. Too quiet. After the surrender transmission, the Garrix military prepared for an orbital strike. They activated every last planetary shield, powered every rail battery, and flooded the sky with defensive drones. But no attack came. Instead, a drop pod fell. Just one. It landed without force, without fire, without a single weapon signature. The hatch hissed open, and an old man walked out, dressed not in armor, but in a worn, faded Sol Fleet uniform. He carried no weapon, just a memory drive. He walked straight to the palace gates, past stunned soldiers who simply couldn't shoot. The sensors in their helmets registered nothing hostile. The man, Admiral Julian Avers, MIA for over 60 years, stepped into the central hall. He bowed and handed the drive to the High Chancellor. "This is every name," he said, his voice calm, like a parent disciplining a child. "Every soldier, every civilian, every child, every memory you tried to erase." The Chancellor shook, voice trembling. "Why are you here?" Admiral Avers looked up, not with hatred, but with something far worse. Disappointment. "Because mercy was never your right to give, and now you don't get to ask for it." He turned around and walked away. Union Intelligence Black Vault, Sector E97. Inside the deepest archive, a final file decrypted. It was simply labeled Protocol 0, Step 10, if they ask for forgiveness. A voice, AI generated but modeled after Earth's last global president, read the directive aloud. "Do not forgive. Do not strike. Let them live. Let them sit with history. Oblivion is merciful. Memory is eternal. They made humanity into a myth. So now, let the myth haunt them." Across the galaxy, the echo effect planet after planet stopped resisting, not because Earth bombarded them, not because Earth forced compliance, but because their own people began demanding answers. From corrupted archives, hidden documents emerged. From beneath palace vaults, truth clawed its way back into the light. Millions of aliens realized Earth had never been the villain. It had been the example, and it had been betrayed. The unspoken broadcast. Across every major world, a new message appeared on screens, not transmitted by Earth, but by defectors, sympathetic AI systems, rogue civilian networks. A single question: what do we do now that the monster wasn't the monster? And underneath it, footage from Protocol Zero's archives, the hangings, the torture, the executions of human children on live feeds broadcast as propaganda. Some worlds rioted, others wept, and many simply shut down. Because some truths don't break worlds, they unmake civilizations. Back on Earth, Cradle City, Memorial Grounds. Thousands gathered for the first time in generations. Under the ashes of what once was New York, survivors stood among monuments built from wreckage. Children too young to remember the war held candles. Elders who had buried families held silence. And one by one, they read the names. Not for vengeance, not for rage, but because the galaxy would never read them. So humanity did it for them. Command Ship, Genesis. Final orders. General DeWitt stood alone in the command chamber. The maps were clear. The mission complete. The Union hadn't fallen. It had unraveled. Without a single mass driver fired. Without a fleet-level engagement. Without Earth becoming what they were accused of. But before standing down, he sent one final message. To those who remember, we hear you. To those who watched, we see you. To those who laughed, we hope you never sleep soundly again. General DeWitt stood at the podium, the entire world, and many watching beyond, tuned in. Behind him, a massive screen displayed the Union's emblem, fractured and flickering. Today, DeWitt began, voice steady but powerful, we close a chapter that cost billions of lives and countless dreams. Protocol Zero was never about vengeance. It was about remembrance and justice. The hall was silent, save for the hum of holoscreens. We offered peace, but they chose chains. We offered alliance, but they chose war. And so we made them confront their choices. DeWitt paused, eyes scanning the audience, knowing the weight of his words. We are not the monsters they painted us to be. We are survivors, innovators, fighters, and above all, we are human. Union worlds. Reconciliation begins. In cities across the former Union, citizens gathered to witness unprecedented broadcasts, former enemies acknowledging their mistakes, families reunited after decades of separation, government stepping down to allow new, inclusive councils to form. The galaxy was fragile, but healing had begun. Dr. Marissa Chen, Earth's diplomatic envoy. Walking through the ruins of a shattered embassy, Marissa transmitted her message. We do not claim victory with weapons. We claim it with truth, with courage, and with the unbreakable will to rebuild. She paused, voice trembling. Let this be a warning to any who would underestimate the human spirit. The legacy of Protocol Zero. Across the stars, the name Protocol Zero became a symbol, not of terror, but of resilience, of justice served not in fire and blood, but in memory and truth. The galaxy had laughed. Now, it listened. Final scene, Earth's night sky. Looking up at the stars, General DeWitt reflected. We did not need to destroy them to win. We only needed to show them who we truly are. And somewhere, in the depths of space, a new chapter began. One where humanity was no longer the hunted, but the hunter.